skills. Okay, he tells that you get 10 applications so that one applicant really pass through the first step. You have to do 2 telephone interviews to, at the end, have 1 single candidate which you invite to a personal interview. You invite 5 people to interview so that you invite 1 of these to the assessment center. You can now calculate how many applicants you should need at the beginning to have 1 single applicant who takes the offer. Okay? And that again is the problem we already talked about. Companies, for critical positions, companies don't get so many applications so that they really can select through the process. So at the end they have the 1 single perfect candidate. Okay. So now let's have a look at certain criteria. And I have prepared a table on 2 slides where I show you an overview about different selection methods. Okay. This is a table which you should not learn by heart. Okay. I will not ask you about the size of the circles in these different boxes. But you should understand why we believe that an assessment center, for instance, is more objective than an interview. But you will be able to do this when you follow my input, my presentation. Okay, so let's look at some of these. We're not going to talk about resumes in more detail. I mean, you know what a resume is. Bewerbungsmappe, or an online application. That's a resume. You know what that is? But then we have tests. We're going to talk about tests in more detail. And when we look at tests, we have 2 different major categories. One category is about personality test or trait test. So personality. With personality, there is nothing good or bad. Personality is as it is. Yeah. The other category is ability tests. Yeah. Here you can be strong or weak, right? For instance, cognitive ability, intelligence, you can be strong or you can be weak. So we have physical ability tests about your physical power, maybe, yeah. While cognitive tests about your mental capabilities. Right? We're going to talk about these different tests and how they work. Biographical questionnaire. That's something very simple. There is one idea behind this. It's based on a very simple but valid law in psychology that says the best predictor for future behavior. The best predictor for future behavior is what? Is past behavior. That's because we believe that people don't change so much. So if you want to understand how people are going to behave in the future, just look at their past behavior. That's a simple idea. So you want to hire somebody for a sales job? Okay. Ask the person about his or her behavior and success and strategies in the past. Right? And some companies do this by simply handing over a questionnaire. And you have to describe things, how you dealt with different situations in the past. That's a very simple idea. We're going to talk about the personal interview. I mean, that's the most dominant selection method. I'm going to show you how interviews are structured. What is the difference between a good interview and a bad interview? Right? And we, of course, going to talk about assessment center. Right? On the second table, I have added some more selection methods. For instance, the reference check. Now, reference check. What is that? You simply look at a former colleague or the former supervisor, former manager of a candidate. Here you have a candidate, Bernd. You want to understand more about Bernd? You just figure out with whom Bernd worked with in the past. And you ask these people. Yeah? By law, you have to, the candidate must allow this. Yeah? And then you talk to the people. This is simply look at the reference. Okay? In the United States and in some other countries, we have something which we call a background investigation, background check. So before you hire a person, you check whether the CV is really valid. Was this person really on this high school? Did this person really study on this university? Since 9/11, it became very easy to check all these things. How many years did this person spend in prison, and why? Drug abuse, criminal record, all this stuff you can check. Then a very new selection method is to Google somebody. This is not written in a textbook, but in practice, recruiters do. So before they hire somebody, they check what do they find on Google. So be careful. Okay. I mean, it's not a problem if they find pictures of you in a party or so. I mean, that's fine. I think in the future it will be rather a downside if you don't find pictures of somebody at a party. You say, why? What's wrong with this guy? So, but be careful. I mean, if there are pictures in the web showing you on a party, naked body, please fuck me on this. Don't do this. Please don't do this, okay? Be careful. And Big Brother is everywhere. You are Big Brother, In my time, we could really have parties. Everything was kept secret, because there was nobody with a smartphone, a cell phone, making photos. Now you have to be careful because everybody makes photos of everybody. So, I mean, that's scary. And the HR people will Google you. There are heuristics. But this is not really a selection method, but it's still there. It's there are managers who look at. Somebody told me that if he or she has if he has an applicant and he wants to understand more about this applicant, he tries to have a look into his or her car. If it's messy like mine, you don't get a chance. Or you look at some managers say, well, I only want to hire people which did some sports in teams. If somebody was not a team player in sports, I won't hire him or her. This is a rule of thumb. The best candidates are those that were strong in sports, especially in teams. I mean, is that valid? I don't think so. But for some managers, they use these very simple rules. Okay. Physiological tests. Then graphology. Graphology, what is that, graphology? You look at someone's handwriting style, right? And you tell from the handwriting style about the personality. Is that valid? Can you predict future performance based on the handwriting style?
They say so, but I don't believe it.
Some say so, but it's not valid. From a scientific standpoint, we know that the handwriting style does tell you something about a person. It's not that it does not tell anything, but you cannot predict future performance based on the handwriting style. Okay? Good. Then games, we have games, simulation, things like this. Okay? So, with physiological tests, you look at the shape of the face, you look at the shape of the body of somebody, and tell from the shape of the face about the personality. Sorry, some companies do this, and I know that there are some defenders on this. Tell, well, that's really great. We have some methods really to tell from a physical shape about the personality. Sorry, that's crabby. Bullshit. So you see, there are still some methods used in practice which are valid and some are not. Okay, so I'm gonna pick out some of the most relevant ones. And then we talk about it. What's the logic behind? How do they look like? On this table, you find different columns. I don't want to refer to these columns now in more detail. We're going to talk about what validity is. We're going to talk about what objectivity is. Spread is how much are these different methods used. Right? Small circle means they are not used too much. Yeah. Big circle means, well, many companies use these, maybe all companies. Effort is how much cost is related to the usage of certain methods. You might ask, where do these circles come from? This is a mix of scientific insights and personal estimations. Right? So I cannot really prove the size of any circle. It's just a rough estimation. And again, don't learn this by heart, but to compare...
Effort was the financial part of it. How much does it cost me to use this method?
I mean, we talked about how much does it cost to look at a resume.
Okay.
Yeah. Effort was really little, it's small. While now assessment center, much effort. You spend an entire day with the candidates. That's really costly. That might cost you 2,000-3,000 euro per applicant. Okay. But these are just rough estimations. Just should give you a little bit of sense of the spread, effort, and so on of these different methods. Okay, so now let's talk about personality. What is personality? I mean, we all know this term, right? But what is that from an academic standpoint? How would you define personality? Do you all have one? Yeah. Silly question. I lost my personality. Oh my God. What is personality? Okay. Do you think that it could happen that in the morning I have a different personality than in the evening? No, that does not relate to personality. That is mood. That is whether you're drunken or not. This is a different story. Personality is something very stable. It's something meant as stable. Over years, I mean, if you're going to meet your classmates in 10 years, you know what your signature experience is going to be? You think, oh, well, my classmate John, now after I meet him 10 years after study, he did not change. Still the same behavior, the same sense of humor, the same bad jokes. This is typical experience that you feel that people don't change. They're very stable on this. So this is personality. Personality is very stable. But still, what is personality?
It's the way people handle situations.
Yeah, it's the way people handle situation, any kind of situation. Think of a party. I mean, you can predict the people which you know how they're going to behave on a party.